Hey, Paddy.
Great to meet you, mate.
You too, bro. You too.
Yeah. And you, David, of course. You know.
Thank you. I mean, I know I'm secondary in this.
Bro,
scheme of things.
I feel like I've fucking known you for 100 years.
Well, mate, you wait until we get going, and I'll tell you some of the stuff that how I feel like I've known you as well.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Right.
I was a bit late. I was just out doing something.
That's all right, mate.
That's all right. We've been really busy.
Yeah, really busy doing nothing.
Yeah, I knew that you'd just be kind of getting up and getting sorted, and
we just sift around, mate. It's so good here. I wish you could see where we are. Actually,
where even are you guys?
Oh, mate, we're looking at the Bay of Cairn.
We're at Matthew's house.
We're at my place. So have we started?
Well, it's recording.
Is it recording?
We will be removing bits and pieces.
Nah, but I've got a 2-bedroom little villa, and it looks at the Bay of Cairn, and it gets the sun comes in all day. It's so nice, mate. So this is it.
Oh, shit hot.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky.
There are worse places.
Where do you live?
Live down in Wellington, and then I work in Auckland during the week. So she's a pretty brutal old commute. But that's why.
So do you fly up every week?
Yeah, Monday morning and head back on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on how busy I am. And I've, since losing my job last year at TV3 and everything, I've really got to hustle now. For every dollar I earn, I've got to fucking get out.
Right, I was going to talk.
We'll get
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay,
I mean, we know about hustling.
Yeah. Oh, you do.
I bet you do. Yeah.
No, we're not talking about hustling on the street for a fucking bit of ass, mate. Jesus. Crikey, Dave.
Righty ho. I'll do a little intro, Paddy, just to set a cleaner tone.
Yeah.
So for our viewers, welcome back to The Brink, the podcast where we dive headfirst into the stories that matter, the people behind them, and the moments that shape the world and how we see it. Today, we've got a guest who spent his career doing just that, uncovering the truth, asking the hard questions, and sometimes making headlines himself. Paddy Gower is one of New Zealand's most well-known journalists, a guy who's been on the front lines of political reporting, chasing down scandals, grilling prime ministers, and telling the stories that define our times. But he's also much more than that. Through his documentaries and fearless reporting, he's tackled issues that affect all of us: cannabis reform, alcohol culture, gang life, and even his own struggles with addiction. And in doing so, he's redefined what journalism can be, not just reporting the news, but living it. You might know him from his relentless political coverage, his raw and personal storytelling, or maybe just that one viral moment where he declared, "This is the fucking news." Either way, he's here today to talk about his journey, the state of modern journalism, and what it really takes to tell the truth in an era of misinformation and media spin. So strap in, because this is going to be an honest, insightful, and no-holds-barred conversation with the one and only Paddy fucking Gower. Let's get into it.
Fucking David fucking Ring, that was one hell of a fucking intro.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Wasn't it? It was never going to end, but it was like magnificent.
The podcast is over now. Catch you guys.
That was fantastic.
Nice to meet you, Richie.
You too, mate. Yeah. But anyway, I feel like Paddy, that you've been in our faces and in the sphere in New Zealand, or certainly on our television screens and papers and books, and for decades. It feels like you have one of those faces that you must get stopped in the street all the time. You're properly famous for a reporter, right?
Yeah. People will see me often, and it's hard to get around. It's hard to get around sometimes, because people want to have a yarn or get a photo and all of that sort of jazz. But yeah, I don't know how it all happened. I never set out for any of this, and it wasn't like when I was young that I wanted to be an actor or be on Broadway or be famous. Some people have that, and never ever kind of had that vibe. It just sort of crept up on me, and then next minute, like you say, TV, documentaries, books, in the news, not just making the news, all of this sort of stuff, and fuck, I don't even, it just boom, and it's been a real head fuck at times, but in terms of getting stopped by people, yeah, you know, there's people denied and they want, you know, this is the fucking news, or, you know, I'm well known for putting up what I thought was the hang loose, but, you know, people told me the Uncle Bob, you know. So,
I did too. I thought it was the hang.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the hang loose.
No, this is hang loose, but it's also Sieg Heil, right?
Oh, is it?
So I pulled this one time on a live cross, like we were on the AM show, something like that with Paul Henry or whatever, and I sort of said, "Thanks very much, guys," and I went like this, right, at the end of it.
Yeah.
And of course, people just fucking grabbed it and put it on TikTok, and you know, it's all Paddy Dog and Sieg Dog, and you know, he's one of us, and
hey.
because that was the mongrel mob, you know. It's not
okay.
I thought it was like, chill out, guys, go for a surf, you know, see you later. But actually, I'd hoisted the mongrel mob symbol, which means, you know, I'm safe anywhere that's a red zone, you know. And
well, Elon got himself into a bit of trouble doing something similar recently, didn't he?
That's right. His was much worse than a mongrel mob one.
Oh, that was definitely a Sieg Heil.
Yeah.
Like, hey, that was next level out the gate.
Yeah.
So
you know, people will want me to give them one of those, or this is the effing news, or get a picture or whatever, and that's cool. You know, I mean, it's pretty awesome.
You've been seeing a bit of the country as of late. How was your book tour? So for those listening, Paddy's written a fantastic book we'll talk about, but you've been touring the country doing some shows.
Yeah. So, you know, I lost my job last year when TV3 shut down the news section, and we decided to do a tour of New Zealand, and we actually went from Stewart Island, which, you know, not all of your listeners are Kiwis, which is south of the South Island. You know, people will know the North and South Island, and we went from there all the way up to Waitangi, which is sort of the founding spot of New Zealand when the Pākehā got here and signed the Treaty of Waitangi. So yeah, went right through the country, and again, something completely different. You know, I started life 25 years ago as a print journalist on the New Zealand Herald, a shy guy, you know, away in the corner, and you know, here I am doing what was basically a sort of a half stand-up comedy. Like, I was just cracking all of these fucking jokes to people up and down the country. I'd sing a song, this is the fucking news, with a musician. You know, I can't sing, I can't dance, you know, so I'm doing all this. And of course, I was talking about all of my struggles with addiction and fucking being an alcoholic, and, you know, on stage, you know, and then it's sort of half motivational speaking. And you know, I was doing it, and there's people, we're in Nelson and Dunedin and all of these places, and the way the lights are, and I'd never been in any, I hadn't been in Oliver Twist or any fucking shit like that when I was growing up. So, you know, here I am looking out at the crowds, and I'll be honest, because it's the Brink, you know, I fucking loved it. I just fucking really fucking enjoyed it, you know, and I'm 47, you know, and to find sort of something like that in your life, you're like, fuck, maybe I should have gone and fucking Oliver Twist in the chorus when I was 6, you know, and I just loved it, and I guess it's one of those things. I mean, both you guys have lived interesting lives, you know, and that's something I like doing as well. It's just fucking doing another adventure. So I loved it, boys. You know, ripping up and down the country, making a fucking fool of myself, talking shit and being something different, and that was cool.
Yeah, but you are like it's weird hearing you say that, because you've always come across to me like you're really gregarious, super confident. You know, like you'd stand up in a crowd and you'd hold a crowd. That's just how you've always come across. Like I've always watched you and gone, oh, that guy's like, he's really got something. So it's interesting to think that you don't actually feel like that, because that's how you come across.
Yeah, that's right. And it's been something that I've just slowly, you know, it was always there. I was, you know, a bit like you, Reggie, just a fucking class clown. You know, make no fucking mistake. I was a class clown. You know, I you know,
the court jester.
had buck teeth, I had a fucking big nose, I had fucking zits everywhere, fucking braces, fucking glasses, and but Jesus, I gave teachers shit.
Yeah. And now you've got a mullet as well.
Yeah. That's right.
Fucking awesome. And you're rocking it.
And I went to a boys' school, Catholic boys' school, and I used to crack the guys up and everything. But a whole lot of that held me back. Like, even though I was a class clown, I had this in me. I had real self-confidence issues because, when I was growing up, I thought I was ugly, and people would call me that, and it sort of just held me back a little bit in life. And for whatever reason, I never really became myself, which is, honestly, what you see now at 47 is the fucking kind of person that I wish I had always been, which was a confident, outgoing person. But it took me a long time to get there, and to answer your question, Reggie, I've only been on TV 15 years. I got into it in my 30s. So I haven't been around forever. There was my whole 20s and stuff where I sort of was like I said, a print journo and in the background. And then I went into TV, and I'll tell you this. It happened 2010, I think, or whatever, I went over into TV, and social media was really just starting up. It wasn't like it is now. It was not like it is now. And I was crap on TV. And it was the old days where people would ring up TV3 rather than just fucking get in the comments and fucking slay you. And to be honest, I reckon 1 or 2 years later, I wouldn't have lasted because social media had taken off, and I would have looked at all the things that people were saying, and it would have just fucking made me get out of TV,
It's so funny you say that, eh? That's why, I never got into social media, just because I thought, right, if I get into if I, when it started coming, and I start reading what people think about me, it's really going to hammer me. So that was one of the reasons I was like, nah. And still to this day, I'm like, nah. And it's only sort of
7 or 8 months.
Even so, I still haven't posted anything or anything like that. But it is amazing how, you can say water off a duck's back and never worry about they and that sort of stuff, and it doesn't matter what other people think. But it's so not true, eh? Like, when you read it, it's worse than hearing it.
Yeah.
Because it sticks with you, right? So it takes a lot of gumption to be able to push through that stuff. And, I've got a lot of respect for people that can handle, severe criticism from, let's face it, keyboard warriors and people that probably haven't achieved anything in their lives anyway, and they're just sour about their own lives, but it still hurts.
Oh,
right?
Fuck yeah. And the weird thing for me was, I'd been teased a lot at school, and then, I got to uni and into my 20s and everything, and actually people stopped teasing me, you know what I mean? Because you're with your friends and you find your place in the world. And I sort of forgot that I was a little bit unusual looking, because I'd had all these years of normality, and your mates don't say anything to you, and people are normal, and there's nothing wrong, and I'd sort of forgotten about being teased, because it didn't really happen. A couple of little comments here and there, and I can remember when I first went to uni, and I'd left school, and just like anybody, I just wanted to start afresh, because I was here and out of a single-sex school. And I remember a guy from the boys' school in New Plymouth, because I was at the Catholic boys' school, Francis Douglas, and it was boys' high. And I remember a guy, and I was at the toga party, and a guy came up and said, "Oh, there's old fucking Dogface." And my heart just sank, because I was just like, fuck, I thought I'd left all this shit back at school, but it's, follow me around. But anyway, that all sort of drifted away. But then I went into TV. And of course, the comments were just like, "Who is this fucking ugly cunt?" And sorry about my language. And who is this guy? And all of that. And then suddenly I realised, oh, that's Jesus. Fuck, I forgot. I'm a little bit different looking. Like I'd sort of just built my life, and then it all came sort of flooding back in. So here I am at 30, having to sort of deal with this heavy shit. Part of it's criticism of my performance on TV, because I was crap, because I was a print journal, I was shy, and the other half is just like direct sort of personal criticism. And, also I'm trying to be a political reporter in fucking Parliament. It's a hard job, it's not, and then all of this shit was coming fucking flooding back into my life, and it is good to talk to you guys, because, like you say, Reggie, you can say water off a duck's back and all that stuff, but I tell you what, no way. You know.
How did you? That's so interesting, bro. Because like, how did you deal with that? Because I had similar sort of things. I was a gawky looking dude, gaps in my teeth, all the bullshit. You know, people used to say always, you know, and that really sort of affected me. So I always used to smile like this.
Yeah.
You know, I never showed my teeth, and when I did, let everyone would go and I'd be like, oh. Right. So that's you know, it's not really a big deal, but it's still like, how did you what sort of, you know, veil did you put up, or, you know, the shield that you have to put up, or because my defense was always just laugh loud at myself. So if somebody was taking the piss, I'd just go, yeah, mate.
Yeah.
But it still hurt. You know?
Oh yeah, no. So you know, I like I said, I was a joker in a class. You know, always the joker in the group and that, and you know, and that's gone on to become a bit of a strength in life. And then honestly, mate, and we'll get to this, but fuck, the defense that I had from when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, in fact, on through to 45 was drinking piss, alcohol. You know, because it took away that feeling. You know.
Yeah.
Really. And I never realised I never realised that till late in life. But you know, you just drink piss and you don't feel fucking ugly anymore. Simple.
So
you don't feel lack of self-confidence anymore. But, you know,
It's an anesthetic, isn't it?
it's an anaesthetic, yes. And my pain was this. My pain was the way that I looked in my internal self-confidence, and the anaesthetic to that was alcohol, and that started from, you know, fourth form in New Zealand, which is 14 or 15. And,
Yeah.
you know, or fifth form maybe, I started drinking, you know, and then that stuck with me all through my life, and I never realised that I was using it as an anaesthetic for my pain, David, which is a really good description.
Yeah, it really sort of removes the barrier to being able to be the gregarious person that's probably hiding inside. That's
right.
exactly my experience.
That's right. It allowed me to kind of be myself, a gregarious person, but not really, because I was dosed up on an anaesthetic, you know?
Yeah, and then you get lost in it. And
So were you, like, when you were doing television and that, and you obviously, you like, I'm assuming you were drinking. Were you drinking when you were, like, you know, like live crossing, or, you know?
No. So I would never drink piss like while I was working, you know. In saying that, you know, a couple of times, but hardly fucking ever, more by accident, like out and about drinking and something happens, or you're called in for a late night live cross or something, but not like drinking to get through work. But I was a classic Kiwi binge drinker, mate. Fucking work would end, I would do the live cross, and I'd fucking head across the road to the fucking backbencher, and I'd buy 2 pints.
Yeah.
Fucking one of them was going down real quick, and I didn't want to walk back up and get another one, you know, and the anaesthetic would go in. So I'd never be like someone who was hiding drinking or anything like that. But as soon as work would end and I was on a high, you know, I've never been a sports person or anything, but it'd be like winning a game and all of that sort of shit.
Yeah.
Losing a game, you get on the piss and you fucking, you know, you're away. So that's what it would be, Richie. You know, I'd get on the piss during the week, and then, you know, like anyone in New Zealand who's a male, you get hammered at the weekends, Friday night with workmates, Saturday night with your mates. Fucking might go around and see the olds on Sunday, have a few more there, you know, and then you're back at work, and that was 30 years of my life, just binge drinking, getting hammered, waking up hungover as hell, and going back to work and getting through it. You know,
rinse and repeat. It's a dangerous misconception, isn't it? I think that a lot of people believe that. We were talking about it 2 days ago. You know, people think if you're an alcoholic, you just drink all day, every day. Well, right. I did not. I drank at most every second day because my hangovers were so bad. I couldn't. And like you didn't. You know, it didn't destabilize you at work. But what, you know, at some point or other, when drinking is affecting your life negatively, that's the definition of alcoholism. You could be drinking once a month and fucking your life up.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that, because I'd sometimes drink every second day and stuff as well, because I would get so hungover that I couldn't drink piss the next night. It would take one night, sometimes 2 nights, for the alcohol to get out of the system and I could get back on it, you know. But yeah, I think it's just one of those really common things, and I know a lot of people, when I came out and said that I was an alcoholic, you know, a lot of people would, I reckon it fucked a lot of Kiwis off because they're like, he's not really, like, because I was actually showing them, like they're saying, if he is, then I am.
They're having to introspect. Yeah. Because if you think, well, I don't drink every day.
People would prefer it if an alcoholic was fucking drinking vodka from under the thing, from under the sink, or if an alcoholic was fucking busted, fucking driving their car and fighting with the cops, and and that sort of thing. People didn't like an alcoholic being defined as a middle of the road Kiwi guy who
functioning,
held down a job and functioned and looked like them. So,
yeah.
But the reality is, I couldn't live without it, and it was fucking up my life. So,
Do you find, Paddy, since you've been so public about your journey with drinking, that often people you've been in social situations, and whether it be people you know or people you've just met, will come to you and say, so, how did you know you had a drinking problem? How much were you drinking? Like, and you know that they're asking for themselves. Does that happen a lot to you? Because that happens all the time to me.
Mate, it happens. I'll get, because, I've got social media and everything. People will message me or come up to me and talk quietly, not quite on the daily, but on the weekly, just saying your documentary and, I like what you did, and or, you get the odd one, how did you do it? And your people will just sidle up to you and say, hey, I just wanted to say, that was really amazing what you did, and I haven't been drinking either for X number of years or X number of months or whatever. You're right. It's sort of just opened up this mini world it's just out there. Fucking people just want fucking someone to do it, and I think that was the power of me going public. Was, well, no one has really done this before. Just come out and fucking said it, like this, and it sort of gave a lot of people permission, I guess, to say, hey, I'm the same, because there's a lot of people battling with addiction in this country. Booze, other drugs, and we just fucking push it down and hide it. In every family in this country, there is an addiction problem, pretty much, but we just fucking hide it away. And with alcohol, you can hide in this country
easy because it's accepted.
It's accepted.
And here's the thing. This is the thing that I always, and I've said this before. It's like, if you rock into a party and you've got a couple of bottles of vodka and a bottle of champagne and shit, everyone's like, cool, thank you. If you rock into a party, you pop out, hey, and you chop out 5 bags, everyone's like, hey. I'll have one on the sly.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's
mate,
right.
You're a druggie. It's such a it's
that's
like,
right.
so alcohol's okay. Like, hey, let's face it, all drugs, alcohol, it's not good for you. None of it's good for you, right?
No, none of it's good for you. But, you've got to hide your bags, and all that individual's got to hide your bags and everything. But you go down and you get your piss, your fucking champagne, your craft beers. You get that when you buy your frozen peas. And the milk when you go through the
and everyone's like, hey.
Yeah,
it's not a drama.
But drugs, they're illegal. You go to jail for them. They've got to be hidden away, and we've kind of just got these funny. Society's just decided on these really, really funny rules.
But even when it comes to alcohol, there's this double standard. Yeah, it's permitted. Yeah, it's accepted. Yeah, you can drink with your friends and drink as much as you want until your wheels start falling off and you're blowing up your life and you're affecting other people. Then no one wants a bar of you.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's fine to a point, and then it's like you're persona non grata. So there's a double standard there too.
Yeah. So, and we don't really hit each other up about it either,
No one really talks about it, eh? No one
go to our mates and go, fuck, I've known you for 20 years and you just get so wasted and make such a dick of yourself. Why don't you give up the grog? Like, you could count the number of Kiwis who've actually hit up a friend that they really care for, or a family member. Like, you could probably, it feels like you could count them on one hand, because we just don't do that. That's sort of not done either,
Yeah,
exactly, mate. It's so interesting. Eh?
Well, I think so often alcoholics, when they are approached or confronted, they will cut people off. So sometimes I think I did that a lot anyway. People would see people reaching out to me, and I would separate myself from them.
Yeah, so no one really ever came to me, And the stink thing for me was there was two mates of mine who were sort of similar age, and both of them were from separate parts of my life. And when I gave up boozing, both of them in two separate situations, so it showed that I was doing this in my life, said to me, "It's really cool what you're doing, bro, but when I tried to give up or cut back, you gave me shit." And two of them said that, and I remember I did. I was like, "Come on, guys! Oh fuck, it's not going to matter. What are you giving up for?" Like that sort of vibe. And they seemed like real little things to me at the time, but of course, if someone's actually trying to give up, like those are really, really big things,
Yeah.
And I gave up by going on national TV and saying I was an alcoholic, and that seems sort of pretty extreme, but that actually is probably easier to just tell everyone at once, humiliate myself, fucking come out with it and just tell them, than it is for someone who is in a normal Kiwi life.
Yeah.
They can't come out and say, I'm an alcoholic, and tell everyone they know, their workmates who want to drink piss with them, their schoolmates who want to drink piss with them, their family who want to drink piss with them. They've got to go around and sort of tell everyone, oh, well, I've got a problem, and I'm just going to try and everything. They can't actually do that. It's not like they can even go on their social media and go, hey, everybody, I'm an alcoholic and I'm going to give up drinking, and have that space. Whereas I just put it out there, and then people were like, fuck, don't give them any fucking piss. I guess like it kind of really helped. Like people see me and like, oh, holy shit.
And they respect your decision.
They respect it because I've chucked it out there. But my point is, like, no one can really do that. No one goes to Sunday night dinner with the family, where they've had beers and wine for the last 30 years and goes, hey guys, I'm not drinking tonight because I'm an alcoholic. Like, no one does that, and that makes things hard for people because they're left like hiding being sober.
Yeah.
I'm training for a triathlon or this or that, or hiding 0% beers and fucking shit like that.
Yeah.
And just sort of creeping around and avoiding the guy that's going to come over and give you some shots, like see him coming, go to the other side of the room and leave early.
Yeah.
I'm driving because we've got to get someone here. People are doing this all the time in this country, like making excuses to be sober and hiding being sober.
And why do you think that is? Is that because it shines a light on everybody else?
Yeah, it's just or they feel bad. They feel bad for others, or they just feel like shit, or who knows. Basically, we just the point that I've always come back to, that I've always said to people, because I've been sober in this country 3.5 years now, is there's very little space for people who don't drink alcohol. Like you are just instantly in some sort of club, and society is not set up for you in any way at all. And we just nobody helps people like us and gives them space. It's just like, you have to learn to live in the world of booze.
And stealthily slide your non-drinking status under the radar.
Yeah, you can't really talk about it,
I understand.
You have to find your own way to survive as being sober. Society and people will not help you.
People are brutal. I had, sorry, Matthew, used to have this policy when I drank that I would refuse to interact, socialise, or know non-drinkers because I just thought, weak losers. So,
but here's the other thing.
That's how my brain worked.
But that's exactly right.
Too, mate.
I was like...
And here's the other thing, guys. Like, you remember the old Kiwi expression, oh, you can't trust him because he doesn't drink piss?
Yes. All that sort of thing. He doesn't drink piss.
Yeah. Oh, he doesn't drink piss. He's what's wrong with
me? Apparently he doesn't drink piss. And I was like,
can't trust a man that doesn't drink piss. What about that for an oxymoron?
Imagine that.
You can't trust a guy that doesn't drink piss. It's like, what?
Nah, because when you drink,
I was like that. I never. Oh shit! I never even talked to one sober person before I became sober, right? Like, because obviously I've been living a life where I talk to all sorts of people, and and I sort of prided myself on being open and about different lifestyles, and I sort of thought, I accept everyone. But
Yeah.
really, I was kind of soberist. I'd never gone to someone who told me they're sober and gone, oh, what's it like? What do you do? How do you get through? Like I'd not had one conversation with them. I was just like,
Yeah, I've never encountered anyone who's as cunty as I was. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like,
So
boring,
bizarre, eh?
yeah. So,
100%.
yeah, so that's life really. And I mean, I was really how I kind of got to this point was, I was doing these documentaries on drugs, and I started off really judgmental about people who were addicted to drugs, and initially started looking at weed, but when I looked at meth and I've listened to some stuff you've said about it as well, Matthew, and stuff, and
Yeah.
when I looked at meth, like I knew someone who used meth, like everybody in New Zealand. And again, here's another thing that fucking people hide away is the amount of meth addicts in this country. A lot of families have got one around, not too far away. Maybe not in their direct family, but the cousin or the second cousin or the third cousin who's dropped off the radar. And people don't talk about it. It's like, oh, they come, we were there at Christmas. Oh, don't know where fucking Cuzzy Bro was at Christmas. Why wasn't he there? Why was everyone sad? Like he wasn't there, and everyone was fucking sad, and all that sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like happens, and we sort of hide away that person's got a meth addiction. And I used to look at meth addicts because I knew one, and his old lady, I was really close to her, and my mum had died, and I would see him, and I would look at what it was doing to his mum and how broken-hearted she was. I'd just be like, "You fucking loser! Give up that shit! You weak prick! You've got a mum, I don't, and you're wrecking her life because you can't give up this pee. You weak individual." And that was my attitude, right? And then I just, the more research I did, the more that I learned about it, and I started to come to see addiction not as a weakness, but as a disease, and that people who become addicted to meth are effectively gripped by a fucking disease, and they need a medical intervention and proper help, right? And then I was like, oh, geez, that's the way to go. Treat these addicts with respect, and all this time that I was judging people for being addicted to meth and shit, I was an alcoholic. I was an addict myself, but I was so judgmental that I did not view myself as an alcoholic. I did not view myself as an addict, but I was just as bad as the guy on meth, but because society had trained me to view people like him as a loser, and people like me as normal, I didn't look at it that way. And so when I started to view addiction in a different way mentally, because I'm a relatively bright guy, and my mind sort of just started to change. It was just like, oh yeah, these guys need help. And then I started to think more about, I was like, oh well, MDMA, why is that so illegal and so bad when actually it doesn't do much harm? Magic mushrooms and that, they can even help people. And then, well, weed, just, I would look at that and just go, well, that is just stupid for cops in a country that is awash with crime to mess around, with people who grow a bit of weed, and more so people who grow weed and give it to people who've got cancer. I was just like, this is nuts. And then, and that's what really led me on this journey to looking at alcohol and its role in my whole life. Was I started to sort of flip the script, if you can, I started to realise this whole drugs thing is fucking back to front, not just in society.
Yeah, you were looking at it, you just changed your perspective on it.
Oh, just
you looked at it from a different perspective. Yeah.
It's just like everything kind of got turned upside down one day.
Yeah.
And then I started looking at myself, and, that led me to, realised that I had a problem with alcohol myself. And it was fucking funny because we were doing the documentary, right, which was Paddy Gower on booze, because we'd done on weed, we'd done on pee, done on all the drugs, and eventually had to get the booze. And there was a scene where I went to see a psychologist and, and talk about my drinking. And I remember vividly what I was going to do. I was going to give up alcohol for 1 month for the documentary, see what it did. Like, did I lose some weight? Did I sleep better? And then I was going to come back, and the end of the documentary would be me having a beer again, going, it's not great for me, but I kind of like it. And anyway, I gave up for the month, and I remember before it happened, I got quite pissed by accident, and we filmed me all pissed and everything, and I was really quite hungover, and then I was driving in the car, and Christmas was coming, and New Year's was coming, and I was going to start the 1 month off on New Year's Day, like a cheats month off, like have a dry January after getting blitzed on Christmas Eve. And then I just decided, I was so hungover, I just decided, just fucking challenge yourself and give up now before Christmas and before New Year's, which are like the piss drinking Olympics in this country. I've been getting gold for 30 years in a row, and I was like, right, let's sit at the piss drinking Olympics, be a tough prick. And I did that, and it was really, really hard. And then but then by early January, I started feeling really good, and sleeping really well, and all these things that happen when you stop drinking. So then we go back to this scene with this psychologist who'd sent me away to have a month off, and it's a documentary, and you kind of know how to handle yourself in them. You're meant to let your guard down, but you sort of know I'm not going to tell the psychologist everything. But then I was fucking sitting there, I was feeling great being sober. And then I just thought, you know what, these guys are fucking expensive, these psychologists, and they're hard to get into. So, I might just use this session well. And in that session, right, he asked me again why I drank. And that was where my mind ticked over, and I said, you know what, mate, I know why I drink. It's not stress, it's not fucking society, it's not all this stuff, they're all part of it. The reason why I drink is because when I was younger and even older was because I thought that I was ugly, right? And I had no self-confidence. It gave me self-confidence. And then the penny just dropped in my mind, and I was just like, well, fuck, I don't lack self-confidence now.
Yeah.
I just don't. But I'm carrying this massive fucking crutch for 30 years of booze that is holding my whole life back. Fucking, it's going to affect my health. I knew all this stuff, but I've got it for this stupid fucking reason that I think I'm ugly and I've got no self-confidence. And in that fucking moment, it's very powerful. That was it. It was just like, fuck. I just walked outside of that place and said, fuck, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. And I knew from a couple of guys who were like me that they'd given up drinking for quite a long time, then they'd come back and it crept back into their life again. So first thing was, this is bullshit, your reasons for drinking. Second thing was, you're never going to be able to come back and moderate. You're never going to be able to come back and moderate. So there's one thing you can do, which is stop drinking right here. And I stood outside this guy's place. It was over in Epsom there, sunny day in January in Auckland, and I was outside the car, and I just said to myself, fucking life's for living, Paddy, don't waste it anymore. And fuck, that was it. You never drank piss ever again.
It's like 1,100 days later.
Yeah.
It's like, December 21?
Yeah.
But congratulations.
Bro, it's really interesting. It's really interesting that you said, like, you couldn't moderate, because, like, you said before, we all know somebody that's a druggie or an alcoholic or whatever. And I've always been like, surely, you obviously got to go through this situation where we abstain for ages or whatever. But then surely you can just have one or two, and, but that's what you think. Because, like, I mean, I'm a bit of a heathen, right? But I can stop and start and da-da-da. But it's when you go back for that one or two that it's just a slippery slope, hey?
Yeah, we have a mutual friend at the moment, and he's going through a bit of a drinking problem, and we're having this conversation, and the friend he's at the point where I was, and it sounds like you were, where he's like, I'd like to be able to drink moderately. And Matthew's saying to me, oh, maybe you can. Like,
we can go out for dinner once every couple of months or whatever, meet up, and we can have a couple of drinks. Not get hammered, just just have a couple of drinks over dinner and da-da-da.
And I said to Matthew, it's like, fine, but find me a case study where there's a successful treatment program where they've achieved that. Yeah. You will not find it.
That's right. Yeah. Because I know. I remember. Someone said to me once, I can't have one beer. I've got to have 10, and I was like, yeah, I'm like that too. Like the times in my life where I had one beer were probably non-existent.
What's the point,
bro? So when you're out. When you go out now or whatever, do you? Is there an urge for you to go? Oh, geez, I just because you always say, David, once you're an alcoholic, you're an alcoholic. That's it. You'll always be an alcoholic.
Yeah.
But I think see, this is what I don't kind of get is surely you can just have one or two and that's it, and then not have a drink again for. I just don't.
You're not an alcoholic. This is how I describe my first drink. I was a drink. But
I guess I was a drug addict because I was doing it all the time. But so how is it if you say, I said I was a drug addict, but clearly I wasn't a drug addict because I could stop like that.
Okay,
I could go and do a line of coke or go and do whatever.
But would you have one line of coke? Would you have one on a meth pipe?
No, I wouldn't do that again. No, but hang on.
No, but if you had one, would you stop at one or would you go for a few days?
No, but I wouldn't go on for. But I just say that you had a bender and you went for the night. I'd be stopped and I'd be like, okay, I wouldn't do that again for
but that's different to being moderate. Like what we're saying is
but hang on,
have one or two drinks, then stop for the night, not go on a bender. I can't do that.
Yeah, but if you go on a bender, okay, so if you're having a good time, you go on a bender, it's like, yeah, ripper. But I'm not going to get up the next day and go, right, let's rip into it. I'm going to get up and go, right, okay, that was fun, but I'm not going to do that again for fucking ages.
Yeah, but going on a bender is the antithesis of using moderately.
No, but, okay,
correct?
So maybe you're right.
What we're talking about is, nice hot day, being busy, go down, have one pint of beer, and then stop, and then, come home and mow the lawns and work in the garage and shit like that.
See, I don't think there's any point in doing that. If I'm going to go and have
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Okay, so
that's what we're talking
but okay, so stop. So, but what I'm talking about is
Paddy.
No, what I'm talking
Welcome
about. No, listen. What I'm talking about is hey, I'm going to get on it. We're going to have a good night. Let's get smashed. But then I get up the next day and I don't get on it again for 4, 5, 6 months. That's what I'm saying. It's I don't understand people that have a drink and have one drink. If I'm going to have a drink, I'm going to get pissed.
Yes.
Right? But then I'm not going to go and have a drink 2 nights later or 3 nights later or 4. I'm going to go, fuck, I'm not getting on the hammer again for 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks.
I think you'll find, though, that window between will get incrementally smaller.
No, but
over time.
Yeah, but maybe. But what? So why is it not okay to have a blowout and then go, okay, I've had a blowout. I had my fun. I've got a 21st coming up, or I've got my mates. He's getting married. I'm going to have a drink. You've still got that discipline, but I don't get it. It would do my head in if you said, okay, let's just have one glass of wine, put it back, no more wine. But
But if you're an addict, which you're clearly not, Matthew, you have that one blowout. You decide to have it. You don't blow up your life. You go, okay, well, I'll drink in 6 months' time when I've got a Christmas party. Yeah. Well, I survived that as well. So 3 months' time, I've got my nephew's 21st. I'm gonna have that. Oh, and in 8 weeks' time, this is how it happens.
Okay, so you don't have the
slippery slope.
You don't have the discipline to go. No, I can't. I can't use that as an excuse. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does that mean that I am then? Because
indecisive.
I've abstained for ages. Then went away for a bit, got hammered for 4 or 5 days, and then gone and I haven't touched it again. Yeah. Got on the hammer, fucking and now the last thing that I'm going to do is if you said, let's go and have a drink, I'd be, fuck off, mate, I'm not drinking. Let's go and have it. I said, no, mate, I'm not doing that.
Well, that'd be a nice thing to do with your alcoholic friend. So
no, but I guess you know what I'm saying. Okay, hey, let's jump off that, Paddy, because what I wanted to ask you
Yes.
is you've got a feel for the lie of the land over there in New Zealand, and us being over here, and I get back a fair bit. But what's the vibe like? What's the feel in New Zealand? Like, like what's the collective state of mind about everything, the world, the economy, just our cultural beliefs and our psyche.
Yeah, bro. I think that I'm a really positive person and everything, and it's a tricky question when you get asked this because you don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, we've lost our mojo, or we're not where we were,
Yeah.
or whatever. Because you don't want to be like that, right? Because it's a great place, great people, rah. But obviously the economy is fucking crap. It has been for
It's been for ages.
so long now, and that's bad. But there's more than that here. I reckon. Like people are really disconnected. Like I just think fucking that people in New Zealand, doesn't matter whether they're Māori, Pākehā, rich, poor, whatever it is. Like there's this one thing that we've got in common is there's just this disconnection, or just like people feel like they're not firing, or they want something more. Like there's a sort of a feeling I reckon of, is this it, or I'm not right, or and I don't know what's wrong with me, sort of vibe. And I noticed that going up down the country on this tour. I'd get to a point where I was talking about alcohol or whatever and wanting to make changes in my life and saying, I'd say, look, I'm not saying to you alcohol's your problem, whatever, but we've all got stuff in our lives that we want to change. Didn't matter whether I was in Dunedin, Nelson, up north, New Plymouth, Palmy, 300-400 people in a theatre, and you could just hear the place like a pin drop because everyone's wanting to hear, oh, he's like me. He hasn't been feeling great for ages, and then this shit he wants to change, and he feels disconnected, and he wants more connection in his life, and and I reckon that's there, Matthew.
Yeah,
This I can't quite get the word for it, but there's this feeling of disconnection.
yeah.
It's a paradox too, Paddy, because we're more connected via technology today than ever before. So riddle me that.
Yeah, but you know that's not the connection that we're looking for. We're looking for that connection that
I
like
understand.
we walk down the street and I've said this before, but like it just seems like we have got so individualistic. Like there's no community anymore. There's no like what's happened to the rugby clubs and all the things and playing outside and going outside when you get home and running around with your neighbours and doing all that shit. It's like my kids came back here. There's a lady that lives upstairs and she's got a couple of kids. And so my kids are so cute. They make these these cards and they run next door and now they're outside, they're playing. And I was like, wow, that's so fucking cool because you don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone goes to school, picks their kids up, shuttle them home, put them inside, do their homework, and then go to school the next day and then we compete against each other and make baseball. But that's it. There's no, hey, I'm just running down the road to go to Jack's place. Unless you're in the country, in the city, that life is gone, sitting next, do you know what I mean? Like how many times do you see young kids running around and playing with each other unless they're at school? You don't see it after school. You come home after school and I'm just going next door to play with it. I'm just going up the mountain. All that stuff has stopped.
I heard you say something, Paddy, the other day that I really liked. In your book, you talk about trained optimism and believing in the possible, which is a nice message. But also you mentioned connection is a creation like love, which to me implies, like Matthew said, his kids are going next door to meet up with the neighbour's kids. Like it can be created or brought back. So how do you see yourself contributing to that with what you're doing now? Say for the This Is Their Thing news, the media company you started, and you focus on good news.
Yeah, well, I've decided to give positive news a crack and solutions, and that's not to criticise what all my mates and everything, because I've come up through being very critical of stuff and things like that. But what I think it is this shit with our phones and social media, and I'm really, really coming to hate my phone, and I'm really addicted to it. It makes me feel bad looking at it, and you know, I fucking hate it. And I know there's another addiction there that I've got to conquer, you know. And but with that around connection, it's like, you know, I know everybody's worried, you know, it doesn't, you know, people worried about teenagers, people worried about young kids, and, you know, they don't know how to read a book anymore. And someone saw a kid pick up a book and try and move it like a tablet, and then comes right. This is what I was hearing the other day, you know, because people like, why this book? Why isn't it moving like an iPad? And then we've all got this problem. The phones are killing us, and the social media we know is evil, but we can't get it out of our lives. But with connection, human connection, you know, which is me interviewing someone, or me getting on stage and telling great stories and making people laugh, or me taking an interview with someone and turning it into a story and putting it out there, and people kind of connect with it, or you know, you go out and you hang out with your mates and you leave your phones behind and you go fishing and fucking yarn and have a good time, or whatever. That is the most powerful thing we've got as humans, being able to connect with each other. Like, it is like love inside. It's this thing that, like, AI is never going to be able to recreate it. And that's what we've got, because we're going to have to end up in some gigantic fight back against all the stuff that we're doing to ourselves. And, you know, mark my words, it'll be like, you know, you can see this happening with booze. It's, you know, exactly what happened really with tobacco is that we've let these companies and this stuff come into our lives, and in 20 or 30 years' time, we'll push it all out, and people go, fuck, we're crazy. You know, like, when I watch stuff about tobacco, like, it's not that long ago, 20, 30 years, you know. And it's like, fuck, what, Rothman sponsored the Black Caps? Fucking, they were having a dart. They were having a dart in the changing room.
Well, mate, like, it's like Ringo and Ridley used to sponsor the Kiwis.
Yeah, that's right. And
you know, like, you can't have alcohol, or obviously cigarettes, but even alcohol's banned now in advertising. Like it's like, why is it taking us so long to go? Hey,
alcohol's not banned here in some countries, Reggie. Not here though. Like,
isn't it? Is it still? Oh, okay.
But there'll be a generation, a future generation of people who are now kids who know no different. Like, when we were put on to alcohol and cigarettes and whatever, we were maybe early teenagers. I mean, I was.
Yes.
These kids are starting when they're crawling on devices.
Oh, so, but here, okay, that's true.
Yeah, that's
true.
Right. That's right.
That's true.
But what I reckon will happen, David, is we'll look back on this era of letting kids use devices and fucking having one ourselves, and people go into museums and look at photos of fucking people hunched over and go, what the fuck? And, you know, Mark Zuckerberg and Elon will be on the thing, and they'll be like, yeah, they did this, and they used an algorithm, and they tricked everybody's brains, and then...
But do you think so? But what if there's...
But that's it, though.
Like,
that's the shit.
Everyone will be like, everyone will look at us like we're stupid. They'll just go, they were fucking, what? What?
Yeah.
What do they look at photos of them fucking selves all day long? Like, you know...
Yeah. But if if the, you know, future generations' leaders have grown up knowing no different... Why would they want to change?
Well, that'll be the worry. But you can just tell people want to change, I reckon. And this is my theory. I just reckon people will rise up against it and slowly push it out, because they're just getting sick of it. And it's going to be hard. It's not going to happen like fucking overnight. It's going to be a generational.
But there has to be a shift away from work. Yeah. It's that mindset. Like, hey, I'm all for working. We've all got to put our 2 cents in, but it's got to the point where people are working. The average person, or like the socioeconomic divide now is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and people are working. They've just got no time for
anything.
They're
not doing it for fun or by choice.
No, I know they're doing it because they're just trying to live, right? Yeah. So there's no time for social connection, because you don't have any fucking time. You know, like...
No, mate, I agree, and it's like there is this divide, and, I'm not a political person or anything, but there is this divide developing in this country, and we've got, really people are getting richer, but they've still got no time because they're working their asses off, they're on devices and everything. But they've got fucking way more time than someone in South Auckland who's working 2 fucking jobs. And
That's what I'm saying.
you know, then they've got a fucking reason to leave the kids on the fucking devices all day. You know, like they're trying to live.
Yeah.
And you know, but we've got these two sort of worlds developing here, and it's going to be, it's, you know, it's like, okay, you know, life in South Auckland wasn't complicated enough without getting everyone addicted to devices. You know?
Bro, like and you know, when mum and dad are like forced to work, you know, like 10-hour jobs, and then, you know, can't even afford to buy a house, and they're on the breadline, and they get home, they're tired, they don't have the time to put into their kids, so their kids are just on devices. Like, I do it myself.
Oh yeah,
you know, and then like I find myself, I'm like I've got these 2 iPads that I literally just want to throw over the thing, and I know that if I do, it'll be okay. The kids will get used to it, right? They just get used to it, because when I take it away from them, they don't give a shit. It's just a change in mindset that we have to, as a society, we've got to go, hey, these things, as good as they are, they're also so fucking dangerous, and they're eroding the way we used to communicate and the way we used to get on, the way we used to interact. That is non-existent now. Mate. Like, you know, how we take our kids to school, we everybody piles them into cars. Like, in our day, mate, I used to walk down a main road when I was 5 years old.
Yes.
Like,
totally.
Like we don't do that anymore. So we're namby-pamming all our kids, right? So it's like we've been pandering to all this shit.
Well,
it's so weird.
You know, you hate to sort of sound like the old bastard, like, you know, I walked to school and put my feet in cow pads sort of vibes. But my old lady, she'd come in and say, "You've been watching TV cartoons for too long. You guys are going to get square eyes." Fucking I've been watching it for about an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you know, if she was around today and she saw what was fucking going on, like, you know,
I know,
you're going to get square eyes. I remember there was a show, the Cosby Show, you know, right? And and my mum would be like, "I don't want you kids watching that," and we'd be like, "Why?" And she's like, "Because it teaches you about things that you should learn, you know, it like teaches you about life things, like, you know, I guess they might be talking about puberty or sex, or, you know, just sort of these minor things." You know, and the old lady was worried that we'd kind of learn something from there. Well, fuck, imagine what people are learning from TikTok today. You know, like,
my mate.
You know, like,
twerking 101.
Mate, I've never watched TikTok.
Twerking, you know. You know, porn.
Bro, it's like,
and everything, you know.
It's
like,
terrible.
And my old lady was worried about an American sitcom. Fucking, you know. So anyway.
Well, Bill Cosby was a bit dodgy in the end, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, that's right. Maybe she knew something about Cosby.
She was a wise woman.
Yeah.
Oh, dirty old Bill.
Well, she was very wise, and because I was a huge fan of Reggie's when I was growing up, fucking huge. I'm sure I had a poster of you, and I got you. And you know that video, that came, because Netflix wasn't around, but there was a documentary on you on video.
Yeah.
I own that video.
Mate.
I had Graham Lowe's one as well, and I would I'd watch these videos of you, Reggie, and we all loved you in my house. I remember when you come in the All Blacks in '89, and my old man was just like, "This guy's a character," and
that's awesome. So good to hear.
Then you signed a league, but the biggest fan of you in our house, and she's not around anymore, but was my mum. She thought you were hot. She was always he's so handsome. He's so handsome.
Even with my back teeth.
She wanted to see two things if the All Blacks or the Kiwis were playing. The haka, and Richie. That was all she cared about, mate.
Bless her heart. That's so cool.
So I was a big fan.
So cool.
And then you and I used to watch Ansett Time of Your Life, and actually one time,
right.
You guys came on. You and Mark Ellis and my sister and I were on a plane from Auckland to Wellington. We've been up for my nana's 80th, and I was in like my first year of uni or my third year of uni or something, and all of a sudden we're on this Ansett plane, and camera crew comes on. We're like, holy shit, what's happening here? And then Soundy, and then holy heck, it's
doofus and
I was a mega fan, and I was right in the front row, and we did have some sort of interaction. And I gave some banter back to you guys, and I was like, shit, can't wait for this to come out. Of course, it takes ages for it to come on the TV, and then fucking finally, NZ New Zealand Time Your Lifestyle, I watched my big moment, where
Mate, too funny.
But your editors had cut me right out there.
It must have been the mullet.
I learned about TV. The editors can own you. I'd waited 6 months to see me.
Oh, mate,
my big moment on NZ New Zealand Time.
So funny.
Yeah,
so funny.
So no, it's good to yarn with you, Richie. That's for sure.
No, it is, mate.
So Paddy, wrapping up, what's next? Like, where do you see yourself, I guess, in the next 10 years? Like, what's the plan?
Yeah, well, I had a good chance to think about it last year after I got fired, and I had a few months while we were still being paid where you can, thankfully, had a bit of time to think. And I guess, I'm 47, and it's an interesting one. I had a chance to maybe go and do something else or retrain, or I thought, should I go and become a lawyer or something? I'll be 50, and then actually I was like, nah, fuck it. I like doing this, and even though I've been doing it for 25 years, and looking at everything I've done, because I had a good look, and I've just written my book, and it was actually like, you've done everything here, bro. Like you've had 25 years, they've been good, and you could pack up and do something else, and leave this behind, and start something else. But then I just thought about it, and I was like, I like doing this. I love doing this. This gives me purpose. I like getting out and telling people stories. There's a reason to do it. And then the other thing really was this. I just looked at all the fucking turmoil in the industry, and I'd got really to the top, I guess, in New Zealand, and then I just thought, fuck, I don't want all these other journos and people who want to be journos to see me give up. Like,
yeah,
like fuck, I know that's, and people would say, well, that's a really weird reason because it's your life. It was actually, like, I don't, what are these people going to think if I fucking give up? If I don't get out there and fucking fight? The advantages I've got over everybody else with profile and options and everything. If I, and that sort of just made me want to stick in it.
Yeah.
And
but you are it's like I said before, Paddy, is you're such a well recognized face, but the difference is with you is people know your name. You can see somebody I can see, reporters in New Zealand, I'm like, oh, I recognize, but I've got no idea what their name is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas with you, you just it's almost like you cultivated like a cult following, but it was more than
a brand.
It was a brand, yeah. And you didn't. I think the thing that I liked about you is that it was so authentic. You just knew there was no bullshit there. It was just what you see is what you got. If you didn't like it, well, stiff shit. That's what resonated with me watching you. I was like, you were always really interesting, really upbeat, and you definitely have a massive brand. So,
but on that, you really bared your soul recently, particularly with the book. So this might be an even more authentic version of you going forward, or is it even a new version of you altogether?
Oh, it's definitely a new version, because it's like I've just had this big journey. Then I've kind of got fired at the end of it, but I've wrapped up that 25 years in the book, and people can see everything. And it's just like, right, it's sort of like, I'm doing the same thing, but I'm going to be doing it differently. And there's just going to be a different version of me. And I'm only 47. I don't drink piss anymore. It's given me a burning ambition to get shit done. I've had time to think about who I am and what I want in life, and I would have loved to have succeeded overseas, globally. That hasn't happened, and it's probably too late now. But there might be
never say never.
Yeah, I'm not saying never, because there might be some way that I do something that I am able to pull something off that goes global, and that would be awesome. And if not, I want to be known as the guy that fucking didn't do 25 years. He did 50 years in the trenches here. I'd like shit like that on my, on my headstone or whatever. There was a fucking,
Yeah. And you've actually helped. You've helped a lot of people.
Yeah, I'd like the things that I've done to keep adding up, and people would be like, "Fuck, I remember, he did this, and this, and helped this, and that." So that's sort of where I want to. That's kind of where I want to go. That's pretty honest, to be honest. With I sometimes think when I do shit like this, I can't really be any more honest because I've told things. But those are things that I'd like to do, Reggie and David. Is maybe there is something fucking big where I can get recognised globally, and if there's not, I'm not going to, I'm not driven by that, or it might just be, I really want to clock up a big career here, like double what I've got now, or something like that, like and just help a lot of characters and that kind of vibe, So, but these things are all possible, really, because I don't drink piss anymore, and I've got a lot more in touch with myself. Like that's
trained optimism.
Yeah, trained optimism.
Totally.
I just believe that fucking good things are going to happen, and I just train myself to be optimistic, and, to think that they are, even if it gets fucking hard sometimes. Yeah.
Fucking A.
Mate, we'll be watching you.
Mate, we will. Mate, I can't wait to come back and I'll get your number off David. I'll let's catch up. It'll be good, mate. Just have
when you come back,
have a few points.
Well, no. get on the piss.
We'll get on the piss.
I've always wanted to get on the piss with Richie. Like that.
Sit here, mate. We'll have a drink and then we'll fuck up with these 16 lines and we'll go for 48 days.
There's one thing I want to do. But Richie, I bought this, mate. This is yours.
Oh, mate. It is too. Mate, that's like bro, that's cool. That's great. Who's that against?
This is 1996 Great Britain, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's the number one, okay?
Mate, look at the size of that.
Look, fuck, it's huge, mate. You were big.
Mate, that would have been a skirt on me because I can remember. They were too fucking tight to, like, make the jersey. So I used to do my fucking head and I was like, look at the size. I'm running out in a fucking sack and I'm skinny as fuck anyway. Oh, go, Reggie. Oh, where is he? Fuck. Is there a ghost in that uniform?
You were captain of this team, mate.
I know, mate. I know. Bizarre.
National team. And so this lady gave it to me and she wants it auctioned off for charity. I put it on social media and people see it's got all your signatures. It's not actually what you wore in a game, though.
Isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's not.
Oh,
it must have been another one.
But it looks like it, but maybe it wasn't.
People still really want it, Richie.
Oh, that's good, mate. Well,
you'd authenticate this, wouldn't you?
That's PNG and Great Britain. Yeah. Where's my signature there? Oh, it's probably faded.
Right?
It's just like the old boy.
It's going to be on there. Can you see it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I gotcha. Yeah. It's around there somewhere. Hey, bro, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, man. I'm so glad you came on. Like, it's been a real treat for us. It really has.
Yeah. Oh, no. I've listened to a few of the podcasts and
thank you.
And it was just so on theme with all of the stuff that I think about, and I'd listened to David and so when I'm really grateful that you guys got in contact because I think what you're doing is really cool and
awesome, bro. And we look forward to seeing where you end up and watching you grow, and just it'll be real cool, mate. And like I say, I'll touch base when I'm back in New Zealand next, which shouldn't be too far away. We can go and have a yarn.
Yeah, no.
Cool, bro.
It's a real privilege.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, mate. Thanks. Take it easy, bro.